some of his critics say it pretty openly, is that he is effectively an ally of Vladimir Putin. Would you go that far yourself?
No, I don't go that far at all.
Now, what will Donald Trump's victory mean for global and UK security? Sir Keir Starmer joined world leaders this morning in congratulating him, and those world leaders included the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who hailed a strong US. Here's what the next president of the United States said about Ukraine, speaking to CNN last year.
If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
How would you settle that war in one day?
Because I'll meet with Putin, I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be absolutely over.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country.
Yes, imagine Donald Trump ever thinking in terms of winning and losing. One can't imagine such a thing. The former Conservative Defence Secretary Ben Wallace still takes a close interest in the war in Ukraine, and he joins me now. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
Thanks very much for being with us. So look, Donald Trump says he can settle the war in 24 hours. This doesn't mean today, because he's not president until January, but can he settle the war in 24 hours?
No, I don't think he can. He can use lots of levers to try and persuade people, but ultimately, sovereignty is a funny old thing. It belongs to the country in question, and President Zelensky and the people of Ukraine will have their views. I'm not sure Donald Trump would like to trade away New Mexico or Texas time soon. So I think ultimately, as we've always said in the United Kingdom, it's a matter for the Ukrainians. I mean, of course, he's got a lot of skin in the game. The US has been providing huge amounts of weaponry to Ukraine. They haven't really been providing know-how, which is the other main plank you need for assistance to actually on Russia in Ukraine. And that's being provided by other allies, including Britain, who trained 40,000 to 50,000 Ukrainians to date and also helped them on those weapon systems gifted. So I think, he can stop the flow of funds he wants to, and no doubt he will use that as one of the levers. But 24 hours, it's quite a boast. But I understand how he thinks. I had lunch with him at one NATO conference once. I sat down, me and Dominic Raab had lunch with him and his sort of top team. And that's how he sort of likes to do business.
Yeah, sure. And look, he said there he doesn't think in terms of winning or losing. But in the UK, we very much do think of this conflict in terms of winning and losing. We would like Ukraine to win. That's going to be a problem, isn't it?
Well, look, the reason we believe in winning and losing, it's about our values, right? It's about human rights, about what we stand for, about freedom. It's about respect of international sovereignty and domestic sovereignty. It's about making sure that bullies don't win using force to get their way. And I think there's no grey area in that. Either Putin is going to be successful in stealing more parts of another country's territory and breaking all the treaties, and then move on to something else, fulfilling his sort of view of destiny, or not. And, the writing for global sort of security and the threat to it is on the wall, because if Putin feels he's successful in Ukraine and the West's resolve to stand up for its values are tested and found to be failing, look out, President Xi is watching what goes on in the Pacific. And they're all linked nowadays. They're much more connected than ever before. So I think it is about winning. I mean, we're in it to win, to make sure that our values and Ukraine's values are upheld by the international community. There is no sort of grey area.
I mean, Volodymyr Zelensky also congratulated Donald Trump on his victory this morning, as we said. But you know Zelensky well, of course. He's going to be feeling pretty fretful this morning, is he not?
Yeah, I think he is. I think everyone knew that President Trump or Xi victory would cause some significant questions. But there is another point here, and I have some sympathy with both the Trump and previous American presidents. The United States started to get understandably fed up with Europe raiding our own defense budgets to fund our own lifestyles and social policy for decades now. We have been, decreasing defense, spending it on transport and roads and hospitals and everything else, while American citizens and taxpayers are doing without public health and roads and everything, so they can maintain a military to guarantee Europe's security. The United States are on the hook. Over 300,000 men and women of their armed forces for our aid in Europe if we're attacked by Russia. Yet we have been declining our defense budgets. And it's the one thing I can remember, and it might have been, but President Obama came up to 2%. It wasn't a Trump target. Obama came up to 2%, saying Europe has to start, lifting and taking its share of responsibility. And that has continued. They've all agreed on it. President Trump, I think, will say, look, in exchange, and President Trump is a very transactional president, he will say, in exchange for a huge amount of American support for European security, we expect you to put your own hands in your pocket and contribute to yours. I don't think that's unreasonable. Many of us have been calling for 2.5% of GDP, maybe 3%. That's the best way to have the best insurance policy whoever is in the White House any day of the week and unpredictable. And it's also the best way to make sure that we are properly protected should the insecurity that is growing in my world view arise.
The great criticism that is made of Trump on geopolitical grounds, and some of his critics say it pretty openly, is that he is effectively an ally of Vladimir Putin. Would you go that far yourself?
No, I don't go that far at all. I mean, I've heard all the theories about it. I was defense secretary under both a Biden administration and a Trump administration. And, if you look at the problems we had in Afghanistan, it was quite hard to work out which White House did the worst part of that deal. The Democrats came along and removed all conditions for the Taliban. And the next thing we knew, the Taliban basically stormed in full. Trump did the framework deal that set that in motion. So I don't think this is about whether or not, I don't think Trump has any real similarities between Putin at all. And I think President Trump knows that Putin does pose threats to him, pose a threat to the United States. It's gas rival. I mean, he mentioned it in his victory speech. We've got more liquid gold, I think he said, than Saudi. We've got more liquid gold than Russia. So he sees him as a competitor. I think he definitely sees Putin as someone who starts wars, and that's not in Trump's playbook. He likes to finish wars. He doesn't want. So I think he realizes a problem.